Crispy skin pulled pork tacos, Carolina style, with homemade flour tortillas on a homemade tortilla press. Let's see how I made it. Alright, let's get our charcoal going. We're not going to use any wood in this. This is just a direct heat. I'm going to use a old converted propane smoker that I'm just going to use charcoal in and go from there. What I have here is a picnic ham with the skin on, and just going to take it out of the package here, pat it dry, and then score the skin. That's supposed to help with crisping up the skin. This is my first time doing this. Hopefully it will turn out. We'll see. I'm taking some fine sea salt and putting a nice heavy coat all over the skin. Most of this will come off before it's eaten. It's just there to protect the skin, to help it crisp up and draw some moisture out, and it helps keep it from getting gummy. It's going to get loaded into the cooker with that skin side up, and the salt will protect it from the heat and the smoke. Okay, now this is going into the cooker, and I'm going to start it off at about between 325 and 350, but the temperature comes down fairly quick, and it stabilizes at about 275, and I cook it like that for about 5.5 hours. 5.5 hours later, I pulled the salt off. I'm setting that aside because I'm going to grind it up and use it as seasoning. They call it hog salt. I flip it over so the skin is facing the heat, and I'm going to go for about another 2 hours. Then about every 30 minutes, I open it up and hit it with the mop sauce that I made. I'm not showing you how I made the mop sauce because I actually made this about a week ago for some ribs that I made and just stored it in the refrigerator. So I'll put the recipe in the description. And you see, I almost had a catastrophe there, but luckily I saved it. So, like I say, the recipe for the mop sauce will be in the description. And now I'm going to make my tortillas. I put the flour, the salt, the baking soda in a food processor, blend it up, and then I pulse it with the butter in there until I get like a wet sand texture. And then I will slowly add in warm water until a dough ball forms, and once the dough ball forms, I let it sit for about 30 minutes before I start shaping it into balls. Okay, and here I'm dividing the dough up into about 50-gram portions, tucking everything in, making a ball, and then roll it around to get the dough balls nice and tight. And then once I get go through all of that, then I will cover them with a towel and let them sit for about 15 minutes before moving on to the next step. And time for the first run on the homemade tortilla press. This thing turned out to work pretty good. There's a little bit of flex there where the handle attaches to the base, so I am definitely going to be making one out of hardwood later, but that was just a prototype. And now I'm just putting these on a hot, dry cast iron skillet. until I get these first ones a little bit blonde. But then I got distracted with some of the other ones, and they got a little bit dark. But that char flavor just added a bunch of flavor. So got pretty good puffage on them from the baking powder, and these turned out great. Okay, a couple hours later, after getting hit with the mop sauce, about every 30 minutes, and you can see it's sticking there a little bit, and you'll hear here in just a second how the skin turned out. That sounds like some crispy goodness to me. Okay, peeling that crispy skin off, setting it aside so we can chop it later, and then I'm gonna take a couple pair of tongs and shred up this pork and get rid of the bones. They pull out nice and easy, and yep, go from there. Now that it's all shredded, I'm going to take a little bit more of that mop sauce and just drizzle it over and mix it in. And we'll move on to take care of the skin next. Okay, now I'm just chopping up that crispy skin to just make little bits to sprinkle on top of my tacos. Now there were a couple of pieces here that were a little bit rubbery. I just set those off to the side and tossed those out. I actually tried to bite one and couldn't even bite through it. It's way too tough. But you can hear the rest of that's got a nice crunch and snap to it, and it added a great texture to my tacos. Okay, now I'm just going to assemble my tacos. They're pretty simple. Tortilla, pulled pork, crispy skin. You could top these however you want, but I wanted to keep it really plain. All right, it's done. 7.5 hours later. Let's give it a taste. Let's just start off with the tortilla. The press made them a little thicker than I would have wanted, but I'm actually happy with that. It gives a great texture to balance out the fattiness of the meat. The little crispy pork skin on the top is awesome. The only seasoning I put on that was the salt at the beginning, and then the mop sauce, which I'll have the recipe for that in the description. It's perfectly seasoned. It's fantastic. Yeah, I hope you give this a shot. Happy 4th. Happy Independence Day. Suck it, Britain. See ya. Don't forget to like and subscribe and give me a comment.